everyone, welcome to another lab. In this lab, we are going to do an install SATA device. Here is the scenario. You work part-time at a computer repair store. You are building a new computer. A customer has purchased two serial ATA or SATA hard drive for his computer. In this lab, your task is to install both hard drive on the computer. So as the scenario already explained, what we are going to do is to install the hard drive on the computer, which is already mentioned that there's two of them because that's what the customer chose. So what we have to do is say first you have to read the computer documentation to identify the location of the internal SATA connector. So let's start with that because we have to read the monitor. In order to get into monitor, we have to come here. So before we start reading the monitor documentation, we can physically viewing like what's going on. This is the one of the monitor that we already worked with in the previous lab. If you are following this series of this lab, maybe you already see and you already know where exactly the SATA is go. But if not, it's the good opportunity that you have to closely look into here and see if there is any place that we can able to put SATA, which in other words, the hard drive. The SATA is just the connector, but we are talking about the hard drive that have been purchased by a customer. So we can't see anything from here. So in order to get them a little bit of information, we have to select the motherboard. After that, we will pop up the motherboard info down here. So we can pull up and go through. So as you see, there is the number all over the place. You can closely look into this one if there's anywhere option to put the hard drive, and then we will go through the numbers that listed up there and see if there is any place where it's say actually talking about the SATA. This one is the SATA connector, but it doesn't say anything about the hard drive itself. So you can see there's no place that we can able to see from their hard drive where it's supposed to be go. But again, if you already know this, you already do this lab before, it's kind of easier to know exactly where it's go. But or you can follow this instruction. So installing hard drive in simulated interface can be a bit tricky. Keep in mind the following tips. So you can follow this tip or do it, or you just already maybe do this lab before and you exactly know where it's supposed to be go, which I will, if you don't know, and I just show how to do that. So in order to get into where the hard drive is go, so you have to choose the option that listed, and then we have to go to the drive base. As you see down here, there's another backside of the computer that we can able to connect the hard drive into this one. So in order to get that, we have to move to the next step, which is install the hard drive and connect them to the motherboard. But before we connect to the motherboard, so we have to go to the storage and drag that to this area. So it seems like maybe you feel like the first time you see it, oh, it will be go here. So, right? So if you leave it over there, even though it showed the green sign, it will be not go there. So where it's supposed to be go, it's right here where it doesn't really seems like where it's supposed to be go. So you have to make sure you select there and then you put it right there. And then drag the other one because we have two and we have to put all that two in here. That is the first step. And then after that, we have to connect them to motherboard. So in order to get into the motherboard, first we have to connect down here. So how we can able to do that? We have to go to the cables, and under cables we have different SATA listed down here. So you have to drag and connect the SATA right there. I will not connect the other side into this one because it's, in other word, it's going to be connected to the other one. So like I have to grab the other one and pick one of the side and connect that also to the other side. So in order to make sure we are going to connect the other side into motherboard, this one we just connect to the hard drive. It doesn't connect to the motherboard. So we have to move to inside and then go to the motherboard. And we have to connect like two of them at least down here. So how we can able to get that? So we have to click here, the SATA. So we have to click that, and then as you see, one is already connected, the other one is not. So you have to grab one over here and then connect that down there. Then go back to SATA because these two is already connected now. And then we have to go back, and then as you see, there's one left because this one is the partial connected. That's what listed down there. So as we see, there's only one connected and one left. So we can bring that one up here, and then we can connect that one as well. Yep. All right, so that means we are successfully installed the hard drive and connect them to the motherboard, and then plug in the correct power connector from the power supply for both drives. So again, in order to, if you wasn't done with this lab before, that maybe is going to be a little bit complicated to find where exactly you are going to connect. So the only way you can able to connect to this drive is to go back to the same place where we have been when we install the drivers. And from here, we have to go back to the partial connection, and then we can able to find the power supply up there. And under power supply, we can able to find different power which wasn't connected yet. So we have to grab one up here, then we have to grab the other one up here too. So that connect the power supply, but it's still we, which means this power supply is actually running from power supply directly to this one, and this drive is already connected to the motherboard, so that means there's no other side of connecting the power supply, but it's already connected to the main power supply, which is other side is connected to the motherboard. So all right, so plugging the correct power connector from the power supply for both drive. We're done with that, and then now we are going to boot the computer into the BIOS and verify that both drive are detected. So how we know that? So let's do, in order to do that, we have to turn the computer to the front side, so you can able to verify if the computer, let's see, let's try that one before we verify. So hopefully, let's say, okay, so we already done with all the step. Now we just turn on the computer. So as you see right here, there's the error pop up, say the computer is now on, but the monitor is not showing output from the computer. So what happened? So we can do more investigation for that kind of error. So the first thing I want to do is to go back and see if this computer is actually connected. So as you see when we click on that, it pop up or is showing that the other that side is connected to the power wall. So the issue is not the computer power. And we are going to do the same thing, and we have to click over here, and that is already connected. Also, to make sure the power motherboard is already connected to, I mean, the monitor is already connected to the computer, so we can click over here. And as you see, there's DVI to DVI cables that already connect the motherboard to the monitor. So I'm sorry, the computer to the monitor. So that means there's no issue with the power. So the issue maybe what was happening here is that the monitor itself is not power on. As you see, it's blackout and there's no sign of the power on. So we have to click that power button and then make sure that one is light, or maybe sometimes right away it show like there's no signals, but right now there's nothing like that, but it's like there's the power light over there. So hopefully now we can go back to the computer and try, and that will maybe open the computer. So let's try that. So as we see, there's no signal. That means the computer is not up, but the monitor is actually working. So we have to retry to click on the computer one more time. That is the good sign. Seems like the computer is boot, but it's boot to the option that we can able to do. So no bootable device is found. Press F1 key to retry. Press F2 or delete for the setup utility. Press F1 to run onboarding diagnosis. So I'm going to press F2 to get more information because as it say down here, put the computer to the BIOS and verify that both drive are detected. So what we're gonna do here is to press that F2 and then actually come to um, BIOS. So how we know that the hard drive is actually detected or not. So you see we are under the general, the system information. So we can just go through the system information and read the different part. So as you see the BIOS version and the different service stack, we can read some information up there. And also we can see the memory installed, how many memories over there. We can keep going the process type and the process ID down here. We see the SATA 3 and SATA 5, which have this amount number of the gigabyte, which is HDD and HDD with this number. So that is the indication that we feel this drive is actually working, and that is the conclusion that we can put in place. Yes, it is actually detecting because we connect to the 3 and 5 SATA. That's actually the port that we connect to. But it's not really actually booting to anything. But even though that's what we're supposed to do, we already check it. But for this lab, that will be enough. That's maybe the minimum you just need to do because you just have to install the hard drive, but not really. It doesn't really mean you have to boot to the operating system. So how we know that if that is enough, we can score the lab and we can conclude if that is what it is. All right, as you see, we are score 100% and we are done with everything, because that's very much what this lab want to teach you, but it doesn't really mean you have to boot to the operating system. But in a real life, if you are doing all this part and actually it's not boot to the operating system, that will be another problem that you have to deal with it. However, this is all for this lab, and thank you for watching, and see you in next lab.